Hi, my name is Nikki. I am the owner of Soul Things Botanica, and you're watching Soul Things TV, the media arm of SoulThingsBotanica.com, your spiritual supply plug for everything that you need, herbs, waters, incense, and more. You can check out the link in the description bar below. Today, I want to give you guys a story time about my faith and my spirituality and how I got to where I am today, and I kind of want to tie that into a little bit of ancestor work. So let's get into it. Okay, so when I was 19 years old, I am in my 30s now, I'm just put that out there. When I was 19 years old, I used to work at an advertising agency, and I was, wandering around in a storeroom that I wasn't supposed to be in, and it was a bunch of books, and I'm a book nerd. I'm like such a bookworm. I went through these books, and it was a book that called out to me, and it was this book by Pete Hamill, of all people, and it was called Forever. Now, if anybody hasn't read Forever, I don't want to spoil the whole book for you, but in that book, that is the first time that I ever came across the term Babalao, right? So Babalao, in Yoruba, literally means father of secrets. Baba, father, Lao, secrets, right? So, and Baba, in Yoruba tradition, and, African traditional spirituality, in terms of that region of the world and, what is now known as modern day Nigeria and all that stuff, there is a religion called Ifa. It came across the Middle Passage, it settled itself into the Caribbean, and it goes by many different names now. It has evolved into what is now known as Santeria. In Brazil, they call it Candomblé. In Haiti, I won't say that Haiti, the Vodun and Santeria are cousins. I won't say that they're siblings. I will say that they're cousins, right? Because Vodun comes from the Fawn people. All right, I ain't gonna get all twisted up with that. But I said all that to say, that's the first time I came across the term Babalao, and I was like, "What is this?" And I'm like, I don't want to spoil the book because I feel like it's such a great book. If you like a little sci-fi and a little fantasy or whatever, I feel like you would truly enjoy it. And if you're a spiritual person, it is, surprisingly enough, white behind Pete Hamill, okay, out there for the people, doing the work for the people. That is a great book. I need to find that book again and add it to my collection. It is a must-have. So that's when I first came across the term Babalao, and I was already not questioning. I've been questioning since I was a child, but it was the first time that I was actually seeing a word that like struck a chord with me, and I was like, And I started to do more research, and I started to find out more things, and what I did find out about any African traditional religion was that the foundation is always ancestor veneration, or revering your ancestors, setting a place for them, all of that stuff. So it wasn't until a few years later when I had my own place that I set up my first altar. And my first altar was very simple. And I, for some reason, kept on thinking about elephants. And then my mom was like, yo, your great-grandmother, she said, she had elephants all over the house. And I was like, that must be why I'm thinking about it, because I'm like, I like elephants since I was a child, and I didn't really know why. But now it made sense. I'm like, oh, Big Nana like elephants too. Cool. So there was a vendor near my job, a Kenyan guy, actually, who would go back and forth to Kenya from time to time and get really beautiful art pieces. And I'm so sad I lost these in moving over the years, but I had these beautiful, oh my God, wooden carved elephants. I had brass ones, I had ivory ones, just beautiful ones. But that was the first thing that I put on my altar, and then I had a cup of water and a candle, and that's all I had. I ain't had nothing else, right? I was very simple with it. I didn't even have flowers or nothing like that. I had one cup of water, a white candle, and an elephant. And I remember speaking to an aunt, and she was like, you should think about maybe having a list of names of all of the people that have passed on, like who you can remember, blah, blah, blah. So I had that. That's all I had. I didn't have no pictures or nothing. And the first time that I sat down on my altar, I just cried like a baby. I just cried. And from then, we've just been in a steady, a steady bond with each other. I've always had a very strong connection to my dad, realizing this in retrospect. There's a lot of things that, I ain't gonna say I was the most, I wasn't, people who I went to high school with might not know this, but I was doing some all types of risky stuff in high school. Let me tell you something, wearing glasses, people think that you like Miss Goody Two Shoes, but no. There was a lot of stuff that I was doing, traveling all kind of places all over the place. I could have been in a lot of trouble. And I clearly had divine protection and ancestor protection, because, I done been out the country by myself. I done did mad stuff at that point. And I was just like, dang, I was clearly protected. Like a lot of the times I'm like, oh my gosh, like for all of the stuff that I did and places I've been, and being growing up in New York City and just wandering around and doing all types of stuff by yourself, it is dangerous, and nothing ever happened to me. Knock wood. Like for real. Like I have had some close encounters, but I've never had anything, thank God, nothing traumatic has happened to me out in the street. I mean, there has been some stuff that's been really horrible, but nothing like life-threatening, nothing. No, I've never been sexually assaulted in the street, like nothing like that. Like I've been very, very protected. And years later, I got my first reading from a Babalawo, and this is after years of trying to get readings from people, different people's godfathers and stuff like that, and just not working out. And I never forget a job that I worked at, a young woman who I met, who is now family pretty much. I seen her bracelets, and she had the hand of Kofa. It's a bracelet, on men it would be called mano de rula, the hand of a ruler, and on women it's called Kofa. And I recognized it immediately, and we just struck up a conversation. We just started talking, blah, 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 blah. And from then, we were just like game tight from then. And when her family lives in Florida, and I went to Florida, it was actually was it her first? No, it was her second. I think it was her second Ocha birthday. Like, she had been crowned recently, like in the past year or so since I met her. And it was her second Ocha birthday. And I went down there for the celebration, and it was my very, very first time at like a tambor, and it was drumming, and it was beautiful. It was probably it's memorable. Her and her family gave me the first experience, and then I got my first reading, and my first reading was, all of my dad was with me. They was like, oh, you got a lot of people with you, and I'm like, yeah. And they asked me like, well, what are you doing? Blah blah blah. Now, I was talking and explaining to them what I've been doing, and they was like, they like that, keep that up. And I was like, okay, cool. So it was just a very seamless thing for me, even growing up as a Christian, like my grandmother, and I'm going to segue this into my grandmother because it's important, because recently I've had people reach out to me, or over the years I've had conversations with people, and now I am like Ned Flanders when it comes to Eggun ancestor work. I'll be like, you need to talk to your dad, you need to put a candle in some water, like not in an aggressive, hostile way, but just like, that's always my first answer, like, just like how black folks always like, you sick, drink some ginger ale, lay down. Like, that's me. Like, somebody tell me something off, I'm like, oh no, you need to put a candle for your people. What's going on? You got water for them? You be feeding them? They getting rum? No? What's up? Fix that. Because I'm like, I'm not going to say it worked for me. I'm just saying that it makes my life a lot easier, right? Like, I don't be going through half of the trouble I could be going through because I take care of my dad. Like, we just it's like having grandma that live in your house with you. Like, you're not gonna feed grandma? No, of course you're gonna feed grandma. We eating, grandma's eating. She might want to eat in her room, but that's cool. She can eat in her room. She might want to eat at the table with you sometimes. That's how I deal with them. I don't think about to me, there is no separation between living and dead. Like, we all here in the same plane. So whether or not I could see them, which I can't. My friend in Florida, she's clairvoyant. I'm not, not clairvoyant, but like she sees spirits. I don't see spirit. I just feel them, and I have dreams. And sometimes I hear a little something, or I get a sensation. Right? Everybody's different, but I don't see nobody. I ain't got there yet. And then in the very beginning, I was very scared. I was like, I don't want to see nothing. Okay, don't scare me like that. All right. I like to dream. Okay, I'm a dreamer. Come to me like that, and they've been respectful. They've always come to me in a dream. And I've never had too much confrontation. My aunt, on the other hand, they be just confronting her all the time. She always getting rocked and rolled by that side of the family, which we always laugh about. But everybody's different because everybody's personality is different, and everybody's gonna respond to spirits different, and everybody's gonna respond to energy different, and everybody's gonna, it's just like any family. Like, just because people cross over doesn't mean that their personalities going, like, they got the same personality, the same jokey people, the same stern people, the same rude people, like some of my people is rude, and I tell people that in a minute. I be like, my people is really, like, they friendly with me, but they ain't really all that friendly with everybody else. Like, they ain't about that life. Like, they really be on something like, who you, why you here, what do you want? Yeah, leave me alone. Like, and it's funny, like, I don't, they not the woman bubbly type of people. A lot of them aren't, and I respect that. I respect them to, be doing all that stuff. They like what they like. Over years, I have, added things. My boveda has grown. My altar has grown. I have the 9 glass situation going on right now, and I keep flowers, and we get coffee in the morning, and they get, they only like Ray and nephew. I can't be giving them no Bacardi and none of that mess. Like, my family's Jamaican. On one side, my family is Jamaican, so Ray and nephew for everybody. And then on my mother's side, people have things that they, personal things that they like, individual things I know certain people like, so I like to do things personally for them. I spend a lot of time with them. It's like if you got people that, if you happen to have had to put somebody in a nursing home, you got to go visit them, right? Like, you don't just stick grandma in the nursing home and don't go see her. You got to go talk to grandma. So, speaking of grandmas, my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, my nana, my mother's mother, she passed away about 5 years ago, and me and her were very close. I am the only girl. I'm her only granddaughter, and I'm her oldest grandchild. So I made her a grandmother, and I'm the only girl that she got. So me and her have always had a very, very close relationship. Like, it was always Nikki and Nana. We was always, we was running thick as thieves. Like, that was my girl. Like, we was always doing something. Ever since I was little, I'm talking about like 3 years old, we used to be playing Monopoly. We used to be going places. Like, that was just me and Nana was always together, and I love her so much. And I'll never forget when she was dying. It was like maybe in her last year. I went to the hospital to visit her, and at this time, the doctor telling her she couldn't eat this, she couldn't eat that. And I had snuck her some soul food in from Manners, because I went uptown and went to Manners, and I got some short ribs, beef, and some macaroni and cheese, and some collard greens. I got her all those stuff that she liked, because I'm like, when you dying, how you gonna tell people what they can't eat at the end of their life? Eat what the hell you want, okay? She want to eat some ribs, let her eat some ribs. So I ate the hospital food and gave her the ribs. And, we was talking, and I was telling her, I was like, because my grandmother's my grandmother was a Christian, and she was a Sunday school teacher, and she was a church mother, and she was in the choir. And, I grew up in the church. So she was in the choir, she was on the usher board, she was on this committee, that committee. She was in she did the Bible day camp and the after school program, and she was mother of the year. And she was in everything, like everything. She was in the kitchen during coffee hour. She was, my grandmother was in church so much, right? And, I always felt that Christianity wasn't for me. Like, I don't hate Christianity. That's nothing like that. I just always felt like I needed a different way to express my spirituality, and Christianity to me was limiting to me, right? If Christianity works for you, God bless you. On some real, like, I'm not trying to be divisive here at all. I'm being very, everybody, no matter what you believe in, no matter how you practice, we all trying to get to the same place. So when my grandmother was dying and she was in the hospital, I never told her about any stuff that I was into of late at that point. And I said, I have a table in my house with glasses and candle and pictures and all that stuff. And when you pass, you're going to go on that table. And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I give water and coffee and, all these things. And I was explaining to her pretty much how Boveda ancestral altar works. And she had a very quizzical, kind of skeptical look on her face. But she was like, she was real open about it. We always talked about God and stuff. So she was very open about it. She was like, okay, and at the end of her life, she was very scared, like, people don't want to die sometimes. People just don't want to die. And she was like, gosh, I'm about to start crying. She was like, I don't want to be alone. And I was like, sorry. I was like, you're not going to be alone. You're going to be with granddad, and you're going to be with your mother, and you're going to be with your sister, and you're going to be, with all of the aunts and uncles, Aunt Blanche, and everybody that passed on. You're going to, it's going to be a party on the other side. I was like, it's beautiful. You should embrace it. And, oh my gosh, I'm really crying. I was like, it's beautiful, and our love is going to continue. This thing that we got with each other, it's not going to ever stop. I will never stop loving you. You are my grandmother, and I love you in this world and the next. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Y'all going to have to see me cry, because I really do love my grandmother. And yeah, and she was, we didn't talk after that, like, we didn't say much after that. It was just like, she ate her ribs, and I ate the hospital food, and we laughed and we joked and we talked, and I went home. And I was there with my grandmother at the very end. Me, all of us was there. My mom, my aunts, my cousins, a few of us were there. We were all there. Like, we was holding her hand to the very last breath. And even though she was sick and she was in pain and we knew she was going and all this stuff, it was still hurtful for us because she was our matriarch and she was our rock and she was mom and Nana and grandma. She was all these things to all of us, and we loved her so much. And yeah, it was hard. Her passing was hard on us because it's just like our family is so tight that it's hard. Like, our family, my mom's side of the family is small in some respects, and it was hard for us. It was a challenge for us. The mourning process was hard. But about a year after she passed, I went and got a reading from my beloved Justo Rivera, a beloved elder, who has since transitioned. He used to own Justo's Botanica up in Spanish Harlem. It used to be on 104th, and then he had, lost his place and got moved and all this stuff. But it was one of the last readings that I got from him. And I asked about my Nana. I was like, I usually dream my people, and I haven't dreamt her. What's up? And he was like, sometimes it takes a while for people to come through. Sometimes it takes a while for people to come through. And I was like, okay, I can respect that. And one night, maybe a couple of weeks after I got that reading, one night I went to sleep and I woke up and I was in our old apartment that I grew up in. And we were on the couch. Me and Nana were on the couch. We was watching Jeopardy. That was our thing. And I'm assuming that she was talking to me the way that she'd been talking to me since she's passed, like where she could talk, but I can't talk back. So, she's talking and then everything, like, again, her mannerisms, everything. I'm like, my memory ain't that clear that I can remember like how somebody used to move their body and stuff, but like everything about her was the same. Like, she used to have this little thing. She used to hum to herself. And she used to do this little thing where she like kind of bopped along and like kind of danced in her seat sometimes. She was so cute. And I looked over and I was like, Nana? And she said, you can see me? And I was like, yo, stop playing with me. Of course I can see you. And she was like, how many fingers do I have up? And the way she held her hand was, I'm telling you, just like I remember my grandmother a lot because I was pretty much raised by her, but some stuff I'm like, nah, that's her. And then I was like, of course I can see you, stop playing with me. And then she still started laughing and the whole room filled up with light. And then I woke up and I was just crying. I was like, oh God, I miss you so much. Oh my God. But I thought that was so beautiful because it was like, oh yes, you came to me. I jumped you, And that was just as good as, having that one last conversation with her, because it was like she still had her little quirky sense of humor about her. And I was dying. Like, girl, you was too much in the afterlife, okay? So a couple of people had reached out to me, and over the years, people have been on some like, well, I don't really know if my people would appreciate me doing this and lighting the candles and all that stuff, and they didn't believe in this and they didn't believe in that and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, to be fair, you don't know what people believed in sometimes, right? Because my grandmother was the first person that taught me about conjure and spell work, and I didn't even realize that's what it was until years later. Like, she taught me my first freezer spells. She taught me my first protection work. She taught me about amulets. She taught me about protection powders, like mantras. Like, there's things that, my very Christian, holy rolling Christian grandmother was very progressive and very, in her own way. Like, she had her own stuff, but she learned that from her grandmother, and probably her grandmother learned it from her grandmother, right? So it was like, this is what conjure, especially African-American hoodoo, is about. It's like it gets passed down, and sometimes you don't even know that's what it is. It's just so ingrained in your life that it just happens to fall on to you, and you pick it up, and you keep going, and that is really what ancestor work is about. It's like somebody's passing you the baton, or you're accepting the baton, and you're like, I'm accepting my responsibility as a member of this bloodline to keep it going, to keep this party going, we gonna rock it out. And that's where I'm at today, in my spirituality. Like, I consider myself an espiritista, a spiritualist, I am not crowned, I am not scratched. Not to say I have no desire for those things, but that to me is religion, and that is order, and community and all that stuff. And this is a very personal thing, no matter what I'm practicing, okay? No matter what kind of thing I'm indoctrinated into, this is my foundation. This is my true north. I'm always going to work with my dad. I'm always going to work with my ancestors. I'm always going to big them up. I'm always going to show them love. I'm always going to represent. I'm always going to hold them down because they hold me down each and every day. And then that is this conclusion of this story time. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Nikki Buchanan. I'm the owner of Soul Things Botanica, your spiritual supply plug for everything that you need, herbs, waters, incense, and more. You can find me at soulthingsbotanica.com. You can also find me on Instagram at soulthingsbk. You can also find me on Facebook at Soul Things Botanica. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe to this video if you felt it, if you was rocking with it. Put your notifications on because I will be adding videos every Tuesday and Friday. And thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye.